Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKool Presents Professor and Ace.
Hi everyone. Well, as you can see, Professor's not here this week, so the girls of GeekyKool kind of took over. Well, part of it. There's still some that's not here. Mandy Collins isn't here, but we have Ashley.
Yes, and my new little baby.
I know, so cute. Thank you, didn't. And I have my baby here. Like, she's not quite as little, although she has me wrapped around her little finger instead of her wrapped around my little finger, I think. But we're going to talk about Studio Ghibli. For the love of Ghibli. I hope some people start joining us. If you do, please comment. I'm going to try to keep up with this. This isn't usually what I do. This is what Professor does. So, but we're going to talk about all kinds of Studio Ghibli shows, our favorites, our least favorites, the things that we've seen and not seen, which I've seen a lot of them. I have not seen the new one. But Ashley, you've seen Up on Poppy Hill, right?
Yes.
Let's see if I can find an image of it.
I know you added one to this.
I did add one, but it's not there. Well, of course it's not. So tell me about Poppy Hill.
Okay, from Up on Poppy Hill, for those of us, especially, my age, the millennials and older, who are used to the old school Hayao Miyazaki Ghibli, this is going to be a different feel. From Up on Poppy Hill, it's a little bit more down to earth. It's not as whimsical. It's not as soft as more traditional Hayao Miyazaki movies. In fact, Hayao Miyazaki had nothing to do with this particular movie. He did not direct this one.
Right.
With that said, it is a great film, and it also, for those of us who are American and not as, how do I put this, not as accustomed to Japanese slice of life, especially post World War II, it does give a very interesting look of Japan in the 60s.
Which is part of the thing that I kind of like about the thought of it, because I always watch these shows with Japan and China, the Asian countries, and they are not in the same category. Like, they're not where we are culturally when we're there. Like, they're like, if you watch Karate Kid, for instance, too, when he goes to Japan, they're kind of obsessed with the 1960s feel, 1950s and 60s feel of America. So I wanted to know, how was that time warp kind of thing in this?
A little bit, but because it's much more down to earth and it's a pretty isolated movie. Okay, the plotline of the movie is about a group of school kids that are trying to save basically the activity house or the clubhouse of their school. So it doesn't really go into the cultural portrayals as it does more of an everyday look at what these kids in the 60s were like, what it was like for high schoolers during that day and age. You can feel in the background, and they do bring up a couple of small political notes if you pay attention to the adult characters, but it's not the focus of the movie.
Vicky's like, I want to talk. I want to talk.
Vicky wants to hide in my hair.
I mean, yeah.
So that's part of what's interesting about it, is it's much more humanizing. It doesn't make everything political. It's not on a government scale. Even high schoolers who are not Japanese, or especially us in the Western world can relate to the base message of, hey, you know, these kids are just trying to keep something in going with their school that was otherwise going to be torn down.
We're gonna have to watch that, right? What the top of Poppy Hill. You like Ghibli though. Lex likes Ghibli. Her favorite Ghibli. Which one's your favorite?
Earwig and the Witch.
Earwig and the Witch. Do you like it more than Howl's Moving Castle?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow. So you haven't seen Earwig and the Witch. But
no, I haven't.
The feel of the animation, I know, is a little bit distracting. It was for me when I watched it, but you know, anything to get her to watch a Ghibli movie, I'm all about. And she liked this so much, we bought the book.
Yep, I read the whole book too.
She read the whole book.
Awesome.
A day or two, right?
Yeah, it's not a very big book.
Yeah.
It only took you like less than a week.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, neither is Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, this one is way shorter than Howl's Moving Castle, even. Yeah, it's like
Wow.
the kids. Yeah. We have Howl's Moving Castle as well as a book. You just haven't read it yet. Yeah. But Earwig and the Witch, what do you like about that one?
I just think it's like really funny and cute.
It is very cute. Do you want to tell us what it's about a little bit?
Okay, so it's about a little girl who, her mother is a witch and she's getting chased, so she had to go to an orphanage for a while, and then she gets adopted by an evil witch, and then she has to like clean around the house.
So it's kind of like Cinderella, but with witchy powers.
Yeah, and then there's a cat named, I forgot the cat's name.
There's always a cat.
Yeah.
When there's witches in a Ghibli movie, there's always a cat. Yes.
And she learns how to like protect herself from the worms, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then the I forgot the name of the guy too, but he's like
because there's a witch and a warlock.
Yeah,
she got adopted by a witch and a warlock.
Yeah, and the warlock is like all about music, stuff like that.
Yeah. She really liked it.
That's part of what I like about Ghibli movies in general, is unlike, you know, the stereotypical Disney films of America, there's actually real families. Like, they take the time to actually put whole family backgrounds and stories into their movies. Whereas, I mean, those of us who grew up on, you know, Walt Disney classics, it's like, oh, the mother doesn't exist, or this girl has no family.
Died before or right after, like, the movie starts. You know, like, the mother died giving birth on regular Disney movies, like Cinderella. The mother died. It's Snow White. Yeah, and then there's always the evil stepmother and stuff. This one did have like an evil adopted mom.
Does anyone know who Cinderella's actual mom is?
No, they never really say. They never really say, not in the Disney movie. They never talk about Cinderella's real mom. Like, it's her dad.
Well, even in the book, they just make it obvious that it was her stepmother. Like, even if you read the original Grimm's fairy tale, which, I don't know, you're not old enough to read the original. It's not going to be what you think it is, but
original fairy tales are like
dark, very dark. Yeah, they're horror movies.
Yeah, see, she knows. She's like the Cinderella one where the stepsister cuts off her toe.
The bird take out the
in Ariel, in Little Mermaid, she dies.
Yeah, that
Ariel dies. She just turns to sea foam. Yeah, she knows about some of them. But no, the Earwig and the Witch was really interesting. I did not know how I felt about it when it came out because I love animation. And even though this is a animation, it's like a computerized version of animation.
Yeah, and I get what you mean. Like, when it's done well, like the new Sonic movies, the Sonic 2 movie, that was fine. But it's, I don't know, what strikes me as just bizarre is that Earwig and the Witch is like it's not quite 2D, but it's not quite 3D. It's that weird in between animation, and that's the part that's just getting me. That's the part that just trips me up.
If you can work your way through it, I think you would actually like it. It does have the feel of, we talked about movies that feel like they should be Ghibli, but they're not Ghibli. And the Mary and the Witch's Flower, it's got that feel. Like the story has that feel to it. So, what is your favorite Ghibli?
Ooh, my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, my absolute favorite would have to be Spirited Away. That was one of the first Ghibli movies I saw. I grew up in the 90s, and I grew up in the 90s in a very small town, New Jersey. So the only time I actually saw Ghibli movies was when they were released on Disney.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the first two Studio Ghibli movies I even saw were Kiki's Delivery Service and Spirited Away.
Right. Well, and Spirited Away is based on, and a lot of people don't know this, it's Studio Ghibli's take on Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except, there's a lot more realistic undertones to it if you really look into Spirited Away. Spirited Away, most people also don't know this, but that was Hayao Miyazaki's stance against child trafficking in Asia.
Yep. Like, they just disappear one day. And that's what, one of the things I love about how they do their movies, a lot of their movies, is there are very adult themes and very important stances that are underlined in these movies that kids don't pick up, but it becomes part of who they are. I love that. But
I know here in America with the English versions, and part of this, to no fault to Disney for the translation, they did a great job for Spirited Away. But part of it really did just get lost in translation. It's one of those things that you're not really going to notice unless you watch the Japanese version with the subtitles, because then they make it more obvious what the bathhouse actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. You like Spirited Away. You like No Face.
Yeah.
Everybody likes No Face.
He's one of my favorite characters. I think Spirited Away, I think it wasn't my first. I can't remember if it was Totoro or Kiki's was my first Ghibli movie that I ever watched. But Spirited Away was the first one I watched with Dakota. So I watched it with my son, and he loved it. And then he became very, Ghibli driven.
What was the first Ghibli movie I ever watched?
Howl's Moving Castle. Because I started her with a good one so that she would get
the feel of it, yeah.
We love Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, I do too. Everybody loves Howl. Howl is fantastic. And, part of the intrigue of Howl as a character is, he's a little bit broody and he's a little bit isolatory, but he's not abusive. He's not toxic. He is the definition of a himbo.
Oh,
and that's why everybody loves him.
He's he can seem, and when you first are introduced to him, he seems like not necessarily toxic, but very anti everything, and he doesn't want to feel anything. He's, you know what I mean? But as somebody who lives and has lived with, in my family, people with mental illnesses and post-traumatic stress syndrome and that sort of thing, and somebody who lives with it herself, there are times that I feel those things, and I'm very much
even just the flow of the side characters. I mean, everybody loves Calcifer. Calcifer's hilarious.
Demon.
May all your bacon burn.
I know, he's a demon. That bacon. Literally what she just said. I love it.
Just the flow of it is hilarious because it has the right mix of comedy. I mean, every time it starts to get a little too serious, Calcifer comes in with a one-liner that rolls everybody back.
Or turn ahead, going and jumping, and just the whole idea. And I love the aspect of love shouldn't see the cover of things, like Sophie coming in and, she's just.
You gonna say hi again? She's moving around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You remember she gets turned old, but she's really young. And then she goes to Hal's, but Hal sees past the magic. Yeah. That's a really great thing, is to see past it. But it has those undertones of war and loss and fighting even though you don't want to fight.
And at the same time, you can completely empathize with Hal being a wizard who gets repeatedly drafted by not one but two countries who are both fighting each other.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, you can understand why he wants to run away.
It's a thing. You don't want your life to be about war. Are you uncomfortable? You keep moving. Like,
It's fine though.
you're fine. Okay. I mean, nobody's watching us. It's probably a thing. I really should go onto Facebook and say, hey, come watch us.
I can do it. So
Professor does that. He's like, oh, come watch us.
I can do it.
I am. I'm going to right now. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Great. She's very bossy, my child.
Yeah. There we go. What in the? I don't get it. Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna go on to GeekyKool. There we go.
People were just okay.
I don't know if anyone's actually on GeekyKool, but hey, we can.
I shared it again too. And people probably watch us again. Professor said he'll watch it when he gets back.
It's saying we did have 7 people watched and 2 engagements.
Oh, well, good.
I guess one of the engagements was you posting it or me posting it. But
I'm like, it's not showing me anybody watching. I don't know how to do this. I'm just gonna not even pretend I know how to do this. So.
Well, I mean, I'm from what it's saying on the Facebook page itself. It's saying that we have 7 people at least scroll by it.
Right. So I'm gonna turn on my phone so I can maybe see if you guys are commenting, because apparently it's not showing me any comments. So we'll see.
Yeah, there's no comments, so it did say that people were watching it. Okay, so we're trying.
Yay! Oh wait. So if you're watching, comment so I know, because apparently this thing doesn't. I don't know how to work it. Let us know what your favorite Ghibli movie is. What's your least favorite, Ashley?
My least favorite, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this. It's not that it's a bad movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's just one of those movies that I've seen way too many times.
Okay.
Is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Okay.
It is a fantastic movie. It's just that it's just a movie that got played too many times.
Right.
And it kind of lost the thrill for me. Especially because it does get played all the time.
Right. It's one of those movies, like, I always talk to people about, it's one of those movies that's really good the first time you watch it. Like, the first time you watch it, you're like, oh my gosh, this was so good. But after you watch it so many times, it loses some of that shiny newness.
Yeah.
And then there's
I think it's the overly serious tone of it. Like it should have a serious tone.
Yeah.
And it does a great job of portraying the storyline. It's one of those movies that for some odd reason on, cable TV and streaming services, it's always on.
Right. No, I agree. I agree with that completely. I think one of my least favorites, and I might get hate for this too, I think it actually is my least favorite, and it's Ponyo.
See, I like Ponyo. I think Ponyo's hilarious.
Oh, it is. But it really, really bothers me as a mom, the movie. And I get it, it's a different culture because there's that great documentary on Netflix right now talking about like how little young 3 to 6 year olds go on, and over in Asia they go and they run errands all by themselves.
Like
Well,
that.
and
It's like,
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from in that, but if you pay attention to Ponyo, I personally can let that slide. I'm not a parent, so I can't really judge, but I can let that slide only because if you pay attention to the characters as they're wandering around town, they know everybody in that town, and especially the grannies. So it's not like, mom's just saying, okay, go away into the wilderness. It's okay, stay near the rec center, stay near, granny.
I know, and I get that. I just also know how I have raised children, and I'm like, yeah, no. Also, I know that the American, it came out and it was Disney with Ghibli, and it felt more like a Disney than a Ghibli.
Yeah, see, that's a better one. That it's better to just watch it in its original Japanese. It also makes more sense because then you have, the side stuff that the English version misses.
Right. It's just the English version is seriously, it plays way too much into that Disney fairy tale type thing, and I understand the story is different if you watch it in Japanese, in the original Japanese version, but a lot of
the American version, it leans itself more a little bit to the traditional, like, romanticized. This girl came out into the water. In the Japanese version, it makes it obvious that they're literally just friends. They're both toddlers. Right. And it also makes the dad's feelings more obvious when he comes out of the water to go find his 5-year-old daughter who's running around on land.
Which they don't do that in the American version. Like, basically, you just see these 2 toddlers on their own, and like they fall in love. Like they're babies, okay?
Yeah, no. In the Japanese version, it's much more obvious that they're literally just, preschoolers that found each other, and it's more like, okay, mom and dad don't know where this other child came from. Dad doesn't know where his daughter is. Mom has seen her son's new best friend, but it becomes, it's much more organic in the Japanese version, so I highly recommend rewatching it, but with the original subtitles.
Right. Because this is like, when you see this picture, you think to yourself, yeah, I don't want to watch a show that talks about 5-year-olds falling in love.
Yeah, no, in the Japanese version, it's much more obvious that there's little to no romantics about it. Like, there's that puppy love feel of, okay, this is the first girl that he likes. Yeah, exactly.
I'm still friends with my first boyfriend from kindergarten. It's fun.
But it's much more organic in the Japanese version. I will agree with you on that. As someone who has watched it in both, it's a better movie in the original format.
Right. It's
because a lot of the issues that you've mentioned are automatically resolved in the original format. Like you said, like the kids running around. Well, they're not really in the Japanese version. It makes it much more obvious that, yeah, they're running around town, but they're really running around one section of the town with a rec center right in front of it. And
plus,
the boy's mom works at the rec center, so he knows everybody there.
Well, and it's a different culture, but they don't explain that
in the English version. Yeah,
American version. So, as American parents, when that first came out, in America, I had not seen the Japanese version of it. It was disturbing on several levels. And I'm like,
honestly, I'm serious. Watch the Japanese version. It will change your mind about the entire story, and you'll probably fall in love with it.
Right.
I mean, especially because, the center plot and the center chaos of the whole movie is the fish girl wants ham and causes a tsunami. I'm serious. That's one of the running jokes of the movie.
It's fun. And it's kind of, and I tell people this, it's it was deemed the Japanese version of the Little Mermaid.
Well, it was, but it wasn't. Hayao Miyazaki did come out and say that, yes, this is his version of the Little Mermaid. But he
not what
even
people
said it's not the Little Mermaid. It's basically his parody of the Little Mermaid.
Right. Well, and that's kind of like Spirited Away being his version of Alice in Wonderland. It is not Alice in Wonderland. Don't go into watching these movies if you've never seen these movies. Don't go into them thinking to yourself, okay, that's what this is going to be like. They're not at all. I think one of my favorites is Totoro. I like My Neighbor Totoro. Like,
You have a dress of Totoro.
I cosplay as the big one. And I hand out little acorns and I make people do dances.
See, I did not see that movie for years. It wasn't until like a couple years ago that I actually even got access to that movie because it was so old and it was so hard to find.
Right. And it was one of the first ones I had seen. I think it was the first one I had seen.
And I like it, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have that nostalgia vibe for me that Kiki's Delivery Service has, that Princess Mononoke has, just because I didn't grow up with it. And to be fair, the movie is older than I am. Slightly older than I am.
and I'm older than you, so that's why I'm like, this one to me has that.
I really like the little tiny white Totoro.
Little one. Very cute, right? This one, but has that nostalgia for me because it was the first. I'm pretty sure it was the first one that I'd ever seen. But I love it because the story behind it is so sad. Like, people need to understand that it's literally about
a little girl
dying. Yeah.
Like drowning or something, right?
I mean,
from what I heard, she was murdered, and then her older sister, who was a teenager and who was watching her at the time that she went missing, unfortunately also passed away because she couldn't deal with the grief.
Yeah,
and I had heard mixed things about that. It wasn't until I actually looked up that Ghibli did confirm, yes, that is the basis of the movie itself. I honestly thought it was a rumor.
Yeah, no.
Until Ghibli confirmed it, that no, it was not a rumor. And yes, this was the real deal.
Yeah. And it has these, like, if you know that story, if you know what it is, like the story behind it, and then you go rewatch it, you see these dark undertones that come out that you don't really pay attention to as much.
Okay, I have to take something back. I lied because I forgot about when I said that Spirited Away was my favorite Studio Ghibli movie.
What one?
I forgot about one that everybody forgets about.
Which
that is a Studio Ghibli movie. Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, right. I didn't grab a photo of that one. That's a really good one. And
I warn people. I warn people because it is a lesser known movie, and it is also one of their older films. I warn people, do not watch it unless you're prepared to have your heart ripped out of your chest, because it is very sad.
Oh, it's very, very sad. It's one of those movies, and it is, people forget about it completely. Like, they just forget that it exists at all. And so I had to find a photo of it. Because you guys need to watch this one if you haven't. I did not get the title of it, but
and part of why they forget about it is because it's not Hayao Miyazaki,
right?
But it is Studio Ghibli.
Well, and there's several of them that are like that. He didn't do all of them.
I know it's just that he did the bulk of them. Once he came in, he gave Studio Ghibli its modern international name.
Oh,
is what happened.
Yeah.
Kind of like Stan Lee did with comics, especially with Marvel.
Right. I know. It's like, so here we go. So why don't you tell people a little bit about why you love this one?
For me as a teenager, I found this movie, I think through Cox, because it was like one of their on-demand films.
Right.
And part of why I liked it is because it showed a flip side. And me, I am a military child. My whole family's military. My fiance is a veteran.
Right.
I literally grew up surrounded by war. I mean, I'm a child of 9/11. And to me, Grave of the Fireflies showed me something that until I watched that movie, I never thought of. I never thought of the ground human cost of what the average person in Japan went through during World War II.
Oh, exactly.
And it really opens your eyes to what the actual cost of war is, and how even when there's a winner, there's no winner.
Well, and the thing is like people don't realize that it literally, we hear the stories through our American history.
Mm-hmm.
We hear these stories through we were at war, we won the war, that
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. But you're right. Like this one shows the impact in a animated way that kids can relate to, of the impact of war on Japan. It's a very good thing. This is also one that people forget is a Studio Ghibli, which is weird. She's never seen it, and I just pulled up pictures of it, and she's like, "It's a dragon!"
Well, it's Tales from Earthsea. I don't know if she's familiar with the book. I grew up reading the books, so I know what Earthsea is.
Right. So she just asked if she'd like it. Yes, she would like it.
Probably. Knowing you, probably, Lex.
She would like it. But those are ones that are just, people tend to forget. There's the big ones: Howl's Moving Castle, My Name is Totoro, of course.
He's Delivery Service.
Yeah,
Princess Mononoke.
Which has, I think, one of the most amazing female characters in animation ever.
I have to agree with you on that one. Yes.
Like, she is not only a compassionate person, but also she balances her compassion with her warrior self, to say, and just the whole, she will fight for what she believes in, and how she loves what she, like, if she loves, it's a deep thing, but her character is amazing. And even the growth of her character in the show, she starts out really strong, but by the end of it, it's an amazing transition. And if you love good, strong female characters, you should pretty much watch Princess Mononoke, because it's kind of amazing. But in it hits points on, like we talked about Ghibli. Studio Ghibli likes to hit points that are more serious, and then they turn them into animation that are good for kids and adults. Like, I find that they are, Totoro being about the murder of a young girl. You have, Princess Mononoke, the destruction of nature, like industrializing the world, and what we lose from that. You're cold. It's hot in here, and she's cold. It's a thing. You have Marnie.
But I like that one too.
I think you've watched that one.
Only parts of it where they're like in a little like freaking spiral.
Yeah, that's one I have not caught up on yet. I've seen clips from it, but I haven't been able to sit down and watch the whole movie.
I think you would really like that one, just because you tend to like these, like, psychological type of stories. So it's like a ghost story, but not a ghost story, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's a very psychological show for a kids show.
I've been told that one of the other slightly newer ones, not really new, but I mean one of the more recent ones, Only Yesterday, is like that too.
Only Yesterday is beautiful too. It is. It's also like that. But it's beautifully done. And it's one of those animations that I find fun. It's a little different, just
a little bit more down to earth.
It's one of those things that, like you say, it's down to earth. It's one of those things that I call, like, those stories that are, how do I put it? Like,
slice of life.
Slice of life, exactly. So yeah, it's really good. Let's see if I can find it here. So, I got a picture I found of it. I didn't have all of them because, there it is. But yeah, it's like a slice of life. And
Yeah, that's another one that I've only seen clips of. Like I said, I really didn't have access to like the Studio Ghibli library until we got HBO Max. Now that I have access to it, I've been ramping up my game on watching every Ghibli movie I can.
I have literally gone through and watched so many, and there are, like, look at this. There are so many that people don't realize are Ghibli movies, and I'm obsessed with a lot of them. I have not. There are a couple I have not seen.
What's The Cat Returns?
The Cat Returns is that one. The Cat
Oh,
Returns.
you can't watch The Cat Returns unless you watch the first one.
Right.
Without watching Whisper of the Heart, you can't watch The Cat Returns. I've seen both. Because The Cat Returns is kind of a sequel.
Which is, it's really cool because they don't really do that. Ghibli doesn't really do sequels. You know what I mean? They haven't.
Yeah, it's not really a sequel. It's more of a companion. You can watch them separately, but you're not going to get the gist of The Cat Returns unless you watch the first one.
Now, another one you like is this one.
Oh, everybody loves that one.
She loves the cat.
Oh, Gigi's hilarious. That's one of the few where the English translation actually works better in some cases than the Japanese translation. Not because of the characters' names, but just because of Gigi. Because Gigi in English is funnier than he is in Japanese. In Japanese, yeah, he's sarcastic, but he has a more serious undertone. In the English version, yeah, no, he's just straight up comedy of like, your room is nice, but let's take your mother's.
Right. It's like, okay, I have to go off with this teenager and deal with her. Oh. Yeah, you feel that he has, like, I always say he and Kelsifer would be friends.
Oh, yeah.
They have that sarcastic energy. They would get on each other's nerves, but they'd be friends. They'd be like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. The little flame guy and the cat. Yeah. Can you imagine? I want somebody to make that movie.
Just, you know what, I would think that if it was like just a 10-minute or 15-minute short film between Gigi and Calcifer.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, could you imagine Gigi just walking up to Calcifer in the pan and being his normal cat self, like, I'm gonna touch the fire.
He's swiping at it and he'd be all sarcastic, like, oh, you talk? I talk too. Huh.
Exactly. It would be cute.
He would be putting Calcifer down.
It would be so cute.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at all these. I picked this picture just because it has so many. You love No Face. It has so many just great characters. That's what I love about Ghibli.
Girl like the world.
This one?
Hi, Jessie.
It's Totoro. Yeah, we love Totoro. It's a thing. We totally love. Like, it's one of those things, though, like, I feel bad because it's getting better because of HBO Max, but I used to watch, I've watched Ghibli forever, since, I'm a lot older than you. I've watched it for a really long time. And I always felt bad when I would, like, mention something and no one knew who I was talking about. Like, I cosplayed as Totoro at a convention. Like, I was and I didn't speak, and I gave out, like, if somebody talked to me or was nice to me, I would, drop a little acorn and run away.
Aww.
And then they had, like, this, like, set, and this was at a convention that's no longer going on. It was called MaxCon. It was in Farmington. But they had this little set for some kind of live or some kind of role-playing game where they had trees set up, and I was like trying to get somebody to like do the dance around the little miniature trees to see if they would grow. No one got it except for Morgan.
See, if you had been in Virginia, everybody would have got it.
Well, it's a thing. No one got it, but Morgan, one of our contributors, Morgan, she was at that convention with me, and she thought it was so funny. So the next day, she actually brought her purse, which was a cat bus purse, to the convention, and I love that.
Oh, I love the cat bus. The cat bus is hilarious.
Cat bus has some really scary undertones, though. If you know the
It does. Yeah, it does.
it has some really scary undertones. It's a thing. I'm like,
The part that trips me up isn't even the cat bus. Like, I like the cat bus. I can let the cat bus slide. Yes, he can get creepy, especially when he actually like meows. But
yes.
he can get creepy. The part, and this is something that I only picked up after Studio Ghibli did announce that yes, it was about two sisters who had died.
Right, one murder.
The scene where the younger sister goes missing, the statues behind the older sister when they find her. Those statues, if you know anything about Japanese folklore, are basically spirit houses.
Yep.
For the dead.
Yep.
And that's also why she only found her at night. Yeah.
It's really about, like, like we've touched base on a lot of these. A lot of Studio Ghibli movies have these really serious undertones, whether it be war, or on this one, death, because it is really about grief. My Neighbor Totoro is about grief, and it's put into this beautiful, whimsical, fun animation that you don't realize it's about grief until you hear the story, and then you go back and watch it. And then you pick up on all those points, like you just said. You didn't realize, you didn't pay attention to the little background. But Ghibli is so good about putting so many things in the background that you don't, the first time you watch stuff, you don't pay attention to.
Well, and not all of them are overly serious. It does depend on the movie. You are right. They do have a much more serious undertone. But Castle in the Sky.
Yes.
That one deliberately plays itself lightly. It has a mild undertone of the ancient culture that disappeared.
Right.
But it's much more light. Not to mention it also has, Mark Hamill, who is in everything. Right. And that's a lesser known Ghibli movie that I personally am surprised became a lesser known Ghibli movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just so fun. But I found that it's a 50-50. When I mention Castle in the Sky, people either know what I'm talking about instantly, or they've never heard of it.
They've never heard of it. And I agree. I think it's one of those, it's a hidden gem in the Ghibli arsenal, basically. Castle in the Sky there. It's a newer one, so I think a lot of people forget. Like that. Oh, I think a lot of people in their heads think Ghibli is just made movies back in the time, and now they're like, you know what I mean? They're continually making movies. But no, this is a beautiful one. I do actually think even that one, like you said, has some undertones. I don't think, I'm trying to think.
They're definitely trying. They definitely lighten it up.
Right.
It's definitely a much lighter Ghibli movie than most other Ghibli movies. Right. It's not like one of those movies where it slaps you in the face the second time you watch it that, oh, this is serious. No, it's very light. Even the moderately serious undertone of it is played off lightly. But the voice acting in it is just fantastic. And if you've seen Nausicaa and you watch Castle in the Sky, you can see the similarities between the two, especially in the art styles. Now, Studio Ghibli, in the art style, everybody can recognize it. But when it comes to like the background settings and it comes to even how the characters' outfits are drawn, you can definitely see where the two play off of each other.
Right. I mean, Castle in the Sky being based off of, the mining towns and how they were dying out and everything. Those are those little things that people don't realize are going on in a lot of these movies. I love that. I love the storytelling, that we get so wrapped up in the storytelling that a lot of the times we don't understand all the undertones.
Well, and that's part of the brilliance of the movie itself, because yes, its key theme is somewhat serious, but at the same time, it makes it very well known that it's not necessarily bad. It's just that they had their time and place, and this is the modern era. They don't need it anymore.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I just love Ghibli. I think, who's your favorite character? And then we've talked about movies. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, Chihiro, definitely.
You're there, yeah, out of every movie. Oh, her face is like, oh, do that to me. That's the face you just gave me.
Yeah, I love Chihiro, and I empathize more with Chihiro than I do other Ghibli characters, partially because at that exact same age, at the ripe old age of 10, I too was being forced to move to a new state and a new town with people that I didn't know. So, I was a little bit older. I was like 12, 13, but it came out around the same time.
Yeah, it's still that adolescence.
And when I was that age, there were not movies that actively mentioned, the serious topics of moving to a new town like that and having to abandon everything that you knew. So that's kind of why when I watched the movie the first time and my mother was packing me up for us to leave to Connecticut, I mean, I had spent my entire life until that point in a small town in New Jersey.
Right.
So seeing the opening scene be Chihiro being rightfully angry and depressed that she's leaving all of her friends and all of her family for a place she has no clue what to do with.
Yeah, it really touches base on, like, you see in movies, like we've always seen, where adults leave their hometown and they go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You don't usually see it through the eyes of the children. And it was really kind of amazing that they allowed her as a character to be angry, to be sad, to be, not just, oh, I'm just going, okay.
Well, and according to, I had the special anniversary DVD, so I had, all of the goodies, like the interview with Hayao Miyazaki himself. He got backlash for that film, for how Chihiro was portrayed in the opening scenes.
Right.
And he had to push it back against Studio Ghibli, because Studio Ghibli was like, oh, well, she's too miserable, she's too apathetic. She's a 10-year-old who's moving to a new town. Have you ever met a real 10-year-old?
Just saying. Things are not easy for children. And I thought that they did it beautifully in that movie, to where the growth that she has from that fear and from that anger and just a place of having no power over her own situation, which children don't. If we decided to move like 5 states away, she would have to go with us, or she would have to stay with her mom. It would change her whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I loved that. That's one of the things I loved about that movie so much.
Well, and the fact that they bring it full circle, and the very end of the scene is, Chihiro, do you think you're going to like your new school? I can handle it.
And she realizes, okay, I now have, and have traveled in, even if, no matter how you look at it, even if it's a reality or her reality in her head, how it's portrayed, it could be either or, could be real, it could not be real. It's like she has gone through a transformation in her mind, and that whole movie is about transformation. Like, every part of it is about transformation and redemption and finding your place. And I loved it. I think it's probably it's one of my favorites. I don't know if she's my favorite character, only because I'm older than you. So when I watched it, I was already a grown up. So I think that changes. That's why we do these things. If anybody wants to know, that's why we have GeekyKool, because different, like, Lex looks at things different than I look at it. You look at things different than Lex or I look at it, because we're in that different age groups. But when you get exposed to things, like she just said, Earwig is her favorite character. Okay.
One of my favorite characters.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm sure there are people on here going, she hasn't watched a lot of Ghibli movies.
And I mean, to be fair, that's perfectly fine.
But
I mean, not everyone's gonna like the same things.
but she has watched a lot of them. But also, she's 10, and Earwig is about 8 or 9, and she was what? We watched it the week it came out, so she was, around that same age. So she now kind of feels like you felt.
Yeah, so she can emphasize with the character,
which is great. I think my favorite character is, that's a hard one, but I think her. I think it's Princess Mononoke. I just think that she's just who I want to be when I grow up, and I'm already grown up, and I'm not her. I can't tell me Princess Mononoke. You're thinking about something. Do you see the look? This is her thinking look.
I think of that. I've seen 4.
You've seen more than that.
I've seen more than 4.
You've already said you've seen 5 at least.
Okay, so we went over the favorite overall characters. Yeah. Everybody has one. Who is your Ghibli crush?
Oh, that's a hard. How?
I knew you were gonna say that.
It's gotta be Hal. Like, just the fact, and it has nothing to do with that he's drawn as a very attractive person. No matter
he is, he was definitely drawn overly attractive.
No matter which face he has on, he's still drawn as a very attractive person. It has nothing to do with that. I think Hal, because I always crush on people who I find are strong and yet vulnerable. And he's strong. That's why everybody wants him to fight on their side. He's strong, but he's vulnerable, and he's honest enough with himself. Maybe not with the rest of the world, but with himself to recognize that. And that takes a lot of strength. And I think, so I would think Hal is my crush, my Ghibli crush.
When I was a kid, I would have said Haku. When I was a teenager, when I was younger, I would have said Haku.
He was Dakota.
I liked the mystery behind him. And the fact that he is, quietly supportive.
Right. But he has his own crap he's going through.
Yeah. But now, as an adult, I have to agree with you. It's definitely Hal.
So I feel like, because Dakota, I can say this. I don't think he'll get upset with me. He might. He had a crush, of course, on Haku. But he was in that emo stage in life. You probably
not quite like me. He didn't go hardcore goth. I mean,
no, he was more emo and scene kid. Like, he transitioned from emo to scene kid and back to emo. It was a thing. And
no, not me. I got raised hardcore into goth, and half of it is my father's fault.
Yeah, we tend to do that. But so that was his crush, and I can see why. Like, he's guarded. I think he related to him, but at the same time, he wanted to be as strong as he was in his own way. But I think it's because he's fighting his own battles while he's still helping others. I think that's what makes him attractive. And that's probably one of the things you found, like, crushed on him when you were younger about too, is it's this weird, he's very much a little,
he plays off like he wants to be a bad boy, but everybody around knows he's really not.
Yeah. I mean, but he has some like issues. He has some anger issues. He has some deep resentment in his own life. And that all comes across. And I think depth of character is what I tend to crush on when people talk about like what fictional characters are your favorite, which fictional
You
character.
mind? She was trying to slither on the computer. She was trying to get on the keyboard. What? Do you want everybody to see you? Say hi again, baby. The little diva.
Such a diva. She's so Lex is in love.
Yes.
I love her.
I mean, I grew up around snakes. I babysat a snake for a year for one of my mom's friends when I was a teenager or so, and it was another ball python. Her name was Dragon. She was super sweet, but I did not know until I ended up with her that snakes can be divas, and she is a diva.
Yeah. Bearded dragons can be too, or moody little boys. Our bearded dragon Malice is a moody little boy.
He's not moody. She's not moody. She's just a complete diva.
Oh yeah, but she likes to be held and stuff. And Malice only likes to be held when he wants to be held. Like he is very much a cat in a lizard form. It's a weird combination, and I don't like that.
She's somewhat similar. She is definitely somewhat similar. She acts very cat-like, but she's like also like super sweet. She does not mind being held, and I think part of why she likes being held is because she's probably been held a lot in her life,
which is good though. I always said like we had another bearded dragon. Dakota had a bearded dragon named Xandria. We've had her for 13 years before she passed away, so that's a really long time for a beardy to live. That's
actually pretty short for her.
But for beardies usually live 10
to 15. Yeah.
And we didn't get her as a baby, so we don't know how old she was before we actually got her. But oh my gosh, she hated people. She did not want to be touched. She did not want. Dakota was the only person that she was comfortable, and not even that. Like she would be like, "Okay, I'm done." Like 5 minutes into it, like, "Okay, I'm done." Malice is a little better than that. He'll let me hold him.
Yeah.
You're scared of him.
That much.
She will let anybody pick her up and hold her. She just likes being out of her cage. She likes being around people. She likes trying, keyword on trying, to escape and run around and explore what she can explore. But I do not let her go anywhere, obviously. Especially because she's so little right now, the cats would eat her.
She's still a little too small for that. Like, wait till she gets a little bigger, and then she can still get into little spaces that you can't. Yeah, it's a thing.
Snakes can climb walls, so you can't really guard anything from snakes.
You can't guard anything from snakes. They're little sneaky things. Yes, they are. But she's beautiful, Ashley. Thank you so much for coming on here. Professor was like, he is at church camp.
Yeah, that's what I saw that post too.
Youth church with his son for almost an hour. Yes, our shows are usually an hour long. Well, except when me and Professor are on here, and then they try, and he blames me, but I'm going to prove him wrong. But oh look, the husband. Well, you just showed up in perfect time. Do you want to help me do the end thing of GeekyKool? Okay. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Ashley, thank you so much for talking Ghibli with me.
I don't know.
We'll do this again, I promise. And we might do these like specials. But while you're here, if you like what we do, you got to go check out some of our friends. And so, let's see. We're going to do this one first.
You do all that stuff.
Oh.
I just do the GeekyKool at the end.
Fine. All right, guys, go say hi to our friends Keith and Gary over at Pop Culture Minefield on YouTube. Now, just to let you know, they have some great scoops. They know everyone and everything that's going on in Hollywood almost, but they're not as kid-friendly. They will drop some words that you might not want your children to hear. Mine's fine. She's good. It's fine. Put some headphones on and listen to them. They have so much good information. And then Keith also has his own show, and that is Keith Chimes In, and that's over on the Fat Steven Seagal show over on YouTube. He talks about all kinds of things. He went in really in depth with Babylon 5, and Keith is just one of those fountains of information in the geeky world. So if you don't
Yeah,
know,
so every time he comes up on GeekyKool, he takes over the show.
he does. And we're like, I didn't know that. So he will let you know all kinds of things. So be sure to go over and give him a like. And then we have, let's see here. We have the Nerd Informants. That's Tim from work. Do you want to tell them how good of a guy Tim is? Nerd Informants over on YouTube, Facebook. They're going to have all kinds of movie reviews, game reviews. They give you all kinds of nerdy information. Josh, there's Tim and there's Josh. And Josh will have interviews for all kinds of celebrities that he gets to talk to, which is kind of amazing. They also have a Facebook page where anyone can post cool, geeky stuff. And that is Nerd Informants Beyond, and that is over on Facebook. So be sure to go check that out and join and post your own geeky stuff. We have the OzPod Gals over on Facebook. These are the girls from OzCon, which we love. We got married there. You guys were there. Ashley came.
Yes. Yes, I was. I finally got to meet everybody in person. I finally got to meet Josh. I finally got to meet you guys. I finally got to meet Tim.
So amazing. OzPod Gals is Brianna and Amber, and they are super cute, super funny, and very nerdy girls. So go check them out. We have, let's see here, where are we? Oh, I think we're on this guy, the Scallywag. Yeah, he hasn't had videos for a while. He's
They are
supposed to be
coming
working.
soon. I'm working on them.
He is
Editing them.
actually working on them,
Yes.
which yay! That's Scallywag Productions on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Where else are you?
Right here.
He's right here. So go check him out. While you're over here on YouTube, while you're over on YouTube, Facebook, all of these social media platforms with our friends, be sure to hit like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is that they do on each of these, because they're really cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's good for us in the algorithm.
It is. Algorithm. Bye. Like, I'm not even going to lie. People who know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
While you're out there on the internet, pop on over to www.GeekyKool.com, your one-stop shop for all things nerd.
See, this is why I have him do that. I want him to do all of it, though. It's a thing.
You got movie reviews, you got trailers, you got geeky news stuff, you got the weekly show.
Memorial articles.
There is a nerdy thing.
Oh, speaking of memorial article, look at what is behind me. My signed Neil Adams print.
Oh. Jealousy just went over him like completely. Oh my god.
Well, he's already seen my stack of comics. I sent a picture. I could see the look in your eyes.
Salivating.
That one is actually signed to me.
Look.
That one's like years old, and it's signed to me. It's one of 3 that I have.
Nice.
Oh, see, Ashley is one of our contributors over at GeekyKool. She writes stuff.
But do you have a signed Shoji Tabuchi?
No, you got me beat on that one. But
into my face. I'm pointing.
I have a signed Kevin Conroy Batman print.
Nice.
Also to me.
You're making my husband jealous. I can feel it.
I didn't buy any of it. Tell John to spoil you for your birthday. Tell him that I told him that he needs to spoil you for your birthday.
His birthday's in February. He's like, that's a long ways away.
Who we got watching right now?
I have no idea. We have one person.
I know my friend Jessie popped in. I don't know if she's still watching.
But that's it. We only have one person watching.
No, that's Jessie. We love you, Jessie.
Okay.
Well, Jesse's important.
So,
Jessie doesn't know him. But guys, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, as Professor likes to end these, be kind and stay geeky. Bye.